Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Iterate, and the MMA Detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy.
Welcome back to the Lights Out Podcast. My name is Mike Davis. Along with me, as always, Miguel Iterate. Miguel, we're talking the ADCC 2022 World Championships. Along with us, very special guest, A-class referee, Mario Domasat, A-class judge and referee, Carlos Diaz. And we are talking about Gordon Ryan's historic run. So why don't we introduce everybody? Mario, why don't you let everybody know what your title is with ADCC?
Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Mariusz Domasat. I'm a Celtic Countries coordinator and I'm a A-class judge and referee for the Abu Dhabi World Federation.
Okay, and Carlos Diaz?
How you doing, everybody? So as some of you guys may know, my name is Carlos Diaz, and I'm an A-class referee and judge for the ADCC World Championships and World Federation as well.
And we couldn't have two more fitting guests, Miguel, due to the fact that these two were on the mat in some sort of capacity, on or behind the mat on administrative purpose, for all of Gordon Ryan's matches with the exception of Nicky Rodriguez. So we kind of want to take a slow walk in regards to his historic run from people on the administrative side that watched it. You know, they had a bird's eye view. So Mario, when did you find out that you were going to be on the same mat for the majority of his matches?
Basically, I find out when I saw the match on the screen, because we couldn't know earlier. So I was just waiting on I was in a central mat, and I just saw on the screen that Gordon Ryan and Heki Asula will have the first match on my mat.
Okay, was there a little additional pressure because the entire audience was going to be watching that?
It was definitely a different experience because the atmosphere was just unreal in Las Vegas, but I won't call it additional pressure.
Okay, so Carlos, do you think that a lot of these opponents, like Gordon's head games, do you think it affects his opponents before they even step foot on the mat against him?
I personally absolutely think so. Gordon exudes confidence, and when somebody is that confident, it's going to do one of two things. You're either going to think he's full of it and more than likely underestimate it, or you're going to say, dang it, this guy is really that good. So yes, I do think that some of the antics get to some of his opponents, but people are starting to see the reality of what Gordon Ryan can really do.
Yeah. Well, I think let's start with the first match. Heki Jasulia, he is a wrestler from Finland. He won the trials. He gets the first draw. That must be, if I'm him and I'm his coaches, I'm looking at the board going, man, you got to give it your all. Worst case scenario, we got a free trip from Europe. So Mario, take us through that match from your perspective as one of the referees.
Yeah, I was hoping, to be honest, that Heki will step up and have offensive game because he's got weight and size advantage. And I was hoping some people waiting for match like that for the whole life just to show their skills. But I think it was too much pressure for Heki because I immediately noticed that he start, working with his turtle position and basically gave really fast, gave Gordon initiative, and then basically the whole match was the hard defense, just to still be a bit more time and try to survive till end of the match, which obviously we know didn't happen because obviously Gordon get the back and get the real naked choke. Yes. Yeah. And I just want to say something what Gordon does a lot now. It's single arm real naked choke. single arm. He's not connecting arms. He's submitting his opponents with one hand on the wrist, another hand under the chin.
I have a question for you guys. What did Gordon weigh at the weigh-ins?
So Gordon, because Gordon was on the plus 99 kilos, he officially did not have to weigh in, but he wanted to prove a point that he actually was perhaps the lightest guy in the division. Gordon weighed in at 222 on a scale. And the heaviest guy, I believe it was Helke. Shoot, I'm trying to do the math in my head and I really can't, but he was close to 130 kilos.
I think maybe Souza was the heaviest, the biggest of them all.
Roosevelt, okay, I didn't see Roosevelt did not weigh in at all because they officially don't have to. But I know Helke was either 127 or 130 kilos, which is about 270 pounds, 275 pounds.
It's more than that, yeah.
Okay. Gordon is so upfront in regards to, I mean, it's, you say confidence, some may say arrogance. I guess it depends if you're a Gordon Ryan fan or, a Gordon Ryan hater. But I mean, truly, this run is special, and this is the beginning of it. You had a guy that won the European trials, came here, and to his credit, to Hayeki's credit, he went 549 with a guy that obviously is the greatest in the world. So I think at this time, if you're his opponents, and Mario, if you're his opponents, you just got to kind of bury him with time, hoping to tire him out for the guy after you. I mean, it's really what you got to kind of count if you're in that bracket, at least on the opposite side. Now, his second opponent was Ribeiro Jiu-Jitsu, who got the invite, didn't compete at the trials. Victor Hugo, Carlos. Obviously, the Ribeiro brothers are somebody you're very familiar with. What was your thoughts of this matchup before it started?
Well, Victor Hugo is actually known for, even though he's a traditional quote-unquote jiu-jitsu guy, he competes a lot in the gi. He's known as being a foot locker in the gi. So he's a leg locker specialist. And he did try to attempt sometimes, but the buzz around Gordon was so huge that he was going to submit everyone, that the expectation was exactly that he was going to go out there and submit everybody. And Victor Hugo was the one athlete he did not submit.
So Mario, when you've got the Ribeiro brothers as your coaches, like the rule set and understanding of walking into the ADCC, you're a little more seasoned than a guy making his ADCC debut like Jusila. You understand, like, your coaches have been beating it into you. It's like those jitters aren't taking place like they are with the other competitors. What did you see with Victor?
I'll say that, to be honest, that was the most open match against Gordon. I think he was the only competitor who really tried to do something and even chase some submissions with some, leg locks attempt, and Gordon tried to counter that. But, just the achievement that, you haven't lost by submission, but lost 8-0 on points, it's still like, I think it's pretty big achievement. And like I said, that was probably the most open match because there was some exchanges there, compared to any other matches that Gordon had on during that weekend,
So and Miguel, go ahead, Carlos.
Sorry, one thing that I want to add, and it's something people need to understand the magnitude of what Marius just said. The fact that you lose to Gordon Ryan 8-0 is actually an achievement.
A win.
That's insane. That you lost to a guy 8-0 is a good thing. Because why? Because he submitted everybody else. So you got to think about the magnitude of that statement alone.
So Miguel, administrative side, obviously you've got many years with ADCC. 2007 was your last time with them. A guy like Victor Hugo who gets the invite, the only guy not to get submitted by Gordon Ryan. Do you think this cements him another invite for the following ADCC in 2024?
Well, times have changed along the along the years here, it's been more than a decade, and I think that they're really much more organized with trials and things. So I'm not exactly sure that there's that many invites. And he may have done enough, but he may not if somebody else comes up. But there are 2 years between tournaments, so more power to him for for staying with it. But he should stay busy if he wants to be invited and do better next year, because that's exactly what they're going to be looking for. I think the times of vested invites and invites, last time they were impressive, let's bring them back, I think that was for the early days.
Yeah. Mario, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think the invite list is getting smaller and smaller?
I think so as well, and I need to say that there's so many young wolves right now all over the world. They just popping out. You know what I mean? Just basically on monthly basis, you see some young guns showing on different events and trials and such. And I absolutely agree with Miguel that 2 years it's a long time. And till within next 2 years, we may have 3 or 4 big names in around 100 kilo divisions, like under 99 or plus 99, which may cause some problems to Gordon. And even Big Dan, I think in 2 years' time, which the thing is they from the same academy. But Big Dan, in my opinion, can do some damage in the division. I think he's got huge potential. This kid is like, what, 22, 3 years old?
Okay. So this is the end of the first day of the trials. Always, having been involved with a few of them early on, there's always kind of just like a powwow where people get together and they kind of take their notes and they go over what's being said. What's the buzz about this tournament after the first day? Mario?
First of all, everyone was amazed with audiovisual. So basically the vibe, the event, the performance of the competitors, and also performance of the producers, the production of the event, everyone was talking about this, that the place just look unreal, right? And obviously there was few fights that everyone was talking about, like Kate versus Lachlan Giles and this armbar, and few other matches. So basically there was plenty to talk about after first day. There was a lot.
Yes. Carlos, going into the second day, we've got Roosevelt Souza as the next bout. He's a very interesting guy. He came with the South American trials. Carlos, you were there for that. It's only listed as him having one match there. Would you like to expand on that?
I'm not quite sure why that would be, because I know Roosevelt won the South American trials. He had several matches. He won the South American trials in Balneario Camboriú, which was the first set of trials. So I don't know why it would be listed as just one match.
I think it's just not updated yet. From my records, I didn't watch it live, so I got Pedro Alex in the finals.
Yeah, and that may be possible. Yeah. But I tell you what, from a personal perspective, I really thought Roosevelt Souza would give Gordon Ryan his perhaps most difficult match. But being at the table, when Gordon came in and took off his warm-up gear and set it down next to John Danaher, I overheard him say, "I'll make this quick." And sure enough, he submitted Roosevelt in 11 seconds.
11.
So what really surprised me about this, if you look at as a brown belt who Roosevelt submitted, just a few names: Mason Fowler, Roberto Jimenez, Matthias Luna, Giancarlo Bodini. Those are big names. And first match, he probably had a good night of sleep. Any little aches and pains might be kind of creeping in, but they're not flaring up because it's your first bout. Mario, what were your thoughts about this? What took place?
When I was on the mat and I saw 2 athletes walking on the mat, I kind of felt that Roosevelt is off. There was no eye contact with Gordon. He was withdrawn. You know what I mean? But when Gordon pulled single legs and, get the leg, if you watch that video, I'm doing loads of leg locks. I was just seeing this from the side, okay? But I really think it wasn't synced in 100%. It was all mental game, and I think Roosevelt just didn't help the pressure. That I think so, because there was no hip control. If you take a look on from Gordon's side, and he had connection on the heel 100%, but I don't know if on this level you're supposed to tap to to this position, but like I said, I was just on the side. I wasn't in this position. Maybe the way you felt in this position was different, and you felt it's like sinked in so deep, and the leg will about the heel foot about to break, or knee about to break, and that's why he tapped. That's why he stopped defending. But for me, it's kind of looked like it wasn't like really sinked in very, very deep.
Wow. And it's the absolute, if you're on the opposite side of the bracket, it's got to be a terrible feeling knowing that the guy just only went 11 seconds and he couldn't be more fresh heading into you with his former teammate, Nicky Rodriguez. Now, Carlos, you and I talked before this tournament. We had both said, I was like, man, I'm a Nicky Rodriguez fan. I'm a Nicky Rod fan. I'm not even going to lie. So I'm just like, man, I hope he pulls it off. I hope he pulls it off. Heading into this, Carlos, what were your thoughts when you looked at the bracket?
Well, so it's the last day. You know that it's going to be epic because on the fact that, Nicky Rodriguez and Gordon not only were the two finalists, but they were also former teammates. They were very good friends. Whatever happened. The teams went separate ways. So if anyone knows Gordon's game and style, and if anyone has prior mat time with Gordon, it's going to be Nick Rodriguez. So you would think, okay, he's the one that knows his game the best. He's the one that could probably defend the best. Or
most mat time.
Perhaps, right, and probably put the best offensive game, because you also have to understand ADCC rules. ADCC pushes the athletes to be offensive, not defensive. So he's probably the one that could be most offensive. And the way that the match started, Nicky Rod came in with a blast double and just threw Gordon across the mat. But that was done by Gordon by strategy. He did not want to get the -1, so he gave up the takedown. Nicky Rodriguez fell. The moment got to him. If you were a little bit different, you would kind of, if I was the better wrestler, I would buy the time a little bit and force Gordon to wrestle with me if I'm the better wrestler. But I guess Nicky got a little bit excited, and I mean, it was a hard takedown. And from that takedown, we know what happened after that, and Gordon was able to secure the win.
Wow, Mario, you were not the referee for this bout.
No,
were you able to peek? Were you able to watch this at all?
Yeah. I was sitting pretty close to the mat on this match. I was watching the whole match, and I had exactly same impression. Just Gordon gave the leg to be taken down, because he don't want to get negative for guard pull. So, and when Nick took him down, I had a feeling like Nick thought, like, what have I done? Because you notice immediately he didn't follow the takedown. He kind of stepped back and realized that Gordon gave him takedown. So basically Gordon applied his game plan on Nick, and then Nick had to kind of work from the guard pass position, and we saw what happened next. And I was also kind of surprised that Nick wasn't aggressive like in all his other matches, because in other matches he looked like fire. He was really like active and aggressive. And in this match, if we compare with his performances on the Worlds, he wasn't just himself. I think it's mind games, and Gordon was kind of in his head.
Carlos,
I agree 100% with Marius. It's you can tell athletes don't realize they do this, but they give certain facial expressions after they do something. And you can see Nick Rodriguez's face. In his head, he said, fuck, I did not make him pull guard. He did not get -1, and there's no points right now.
Yeah.
So, throughout the whole event,
his game plan eliminated within the first 3 seconds. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, also the other thing is, throughout the whole event, Nick Rodriguez's guard passing game was absolutely phenomenal. His body lock guard pass was incredible. Felipe Pena, who's probably one of the best guard players in the game, he made him look like a blue belt, purple belt versus a black belt. It's just his pressure, his lock on the guard pass. It's so good. But again, I really think that Gordon got in his head. Even to the point, there were people in the public that know Gordon personally and know Nick Rodriguez personally, and you could see their faces of concern. Is Gordon going to do good with it versus Nick? There was someone that is, very personally connected with Gordon, and they looked very distressed right before the match. And, my daughter, who was at the event, went up and to greet them, and she was like, I'm sorry, I'm just really nervous right now. So I think the consensus was what I said earlier. If anybody can beat Gordon,
it was Nicky.
And who knows him best, it would be Nicky Rodriguez.
I don't know if you guys saw Nicky's social media post. He said he has a complete ACL tear. It actually happened prior to the tournament.
I think you're talking about two different Nicks. I think Nicky Ryan has an ACL.
You know what? Shit. You're correct. Nicky Ryan did. Man, Carlos. That's why we keep you around, bro. That's why we keep you around.
That's why I have a big old head.
Right. So, obviously, this concludes the tournament. Gordon gets his hand raised. What was the feel in the venue being on the precipice of greatness? Because he was, en route to do that. Mario, what were your thoughts after this?
It was just amazing, like to experience that, being in that time, in that place, and like I said, I was expecting also, like Carlos said, I was expecting a bit more from Nick. I was thinking that match will be just exchange after exchange, scramble, fighting for every position, but it was something else. And even when the Gordon went for the leg, if you notice whole way when Gordon was setting up and getting for the setting up the heel, like Nick basically was sitting there, wasn't even trying to improve. Like he already accepted he's gonna tap it. So like it's like different Nick that we see in all other matches, on all other events, and even on the same, like even on the Worlds, on the previous matches. He was just a different person, in that match. But to come back to your question, it was just very unique experience when everyone was expecting Gordon will win. Yes, he was like, obviously like the charts and numbers was, everyone was like pretty sure that Gordon is the guy. But what was amazed, like he barely break a sweat doing that, and that's what's incredible.
Really?
Yeah. Like every single time when I was on the mat, he was so calm. He was just like even the way he breathed, and like when he was even putting some effort, like with Hugo, you know what I mean. But he was all the time calm and composed, and you could tell that he's got everything under control.
That's incredible. So Victor Hugo gives him his longest match.
Yes.
And loses 8-0. Yeah. Miguel, he goes on to a super fight, which in itself is incredible, against somebody that you're very familiar with, Andre Galvao.
Galvao's been at Abu Dhabi top of the food chain for a while now, and I think Abu Dhabi also benefited from a lot of politics between these two. There was the very public slap in the face that went down. May have been last year and stuff, where Gordon actually slapped Galvao, and there was an exchange at an event and stuff. So I think there was a lot of pressure here, but I think Galvao was 38. He'd already been on top, and I think a lot of what Carlau and Marius are saying applies in this match, where once Gordon got the upper hand, you could see the air come out of Galvao, and he wasn't really fighting back as hard as he's not. When Gordon gets up on you, it's hard to say, well, I'm gonna catch up, or I'm gonna make some points, and you can kind of see that in Galvao. So he went out on his shield. And as Marius also pointed out, I think this was an expected result at this point. Galvao had been on top too long.
Eventually. So you were the referee, Mario, for this bout. What were your thoughts going into it?
First of all, the entrance, right? Entrance was epic. When the fighters approached the mat, it was just unreal experience.
It was like pride. It was like pride.
Amazing. Like being a part of it, it was just unreal. Obviously, that's aside. We have match to run. So same approach to any other match. And I noticed that when I came to the corner and I just asked them to wait a bit because Bruce need to announce them and then they walk on the mat, because it was slightly different structure than on the previous matches. I noticed that Andre was nervous. Gordon was completely chilled out. And then when the match started, you probably noticed that Andre was pretty nervous and he get pretty solid snap on Gordon's neck at the very, very start on the match. This is when I stopped the match and I said to Andre, I won't tolerate this, and if he continue doing that, minus points and then DQ. Then Andre said, okay, I'm sorry, won't happen again. Didn't happen again, right? So same situation like with Nick. Gordon let Andre to take him down, and then he started working his charm from the bottom. Then we had a situation when Gordon had a kind of a back control and trying to climb through the hips. Then I had Gordon told me in very, very calm way, ref, he's holding my short. Okay, so I just jump on the other side. I noticed that really Andre holding the rash guards and shorts. I asked him to let go. He did. And then, then Gordon walked his way all the way to the back control, start working with the, body lock to back control, switching and keep diving with that, single arm under the neck. And then I had a situation that was kind of a situation that online people had problem. One, I'm asking Gordon to increase the pace, but it wasn't that. I noticed that Andre holding two fingers and Gordon was trying to choke him, and I just break that grip, because that's illegal. Obviously, in ADC you cannot hold less than 4 fingers. So that
I like that, by the way. I think that's fair.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It wasn't like I was asking Gordon for action, But I know somewhere online people was saying, why the ref asking Gordon when he had the back working on submission for action? I wasn't asking for action. I just asked Andre to let go this grip, and he did. And literally 30 seconds after that, he came up with Gordon came up with his submission.
Wow. Yeah, absolute historic run cements his legacy, and it kind of qualifies for one of the all-time greatest performances in ADCC history.
100%.
Yeah, Carlos, what was your thoughts of the Galvao fight?
Like Mario said, the overall feeling of the venue was very different from any other ADCC before. Is very different from any other grappling event that I've ever attended, and I've been to a lot. It was very reminiscent of Pride, the entrance with the pyro and the fireworks and the music.
Let me help you, Carl. Let me help you, because they've always been called the Super Bowl of grappling, right, since the beginning. And
yes,
they are the Super Bowl of grappling. This was the first time it actually looked like the Super Bowl. I expected Rihanna to come out, and that's
absolutely agree.
Was the jump they hit.
That's what they
And what's funny is the last World Championships, everybody thought it was pretty cool. You know, they had the big jumbo screens, they had the taiko drummers. So it looked cool, you know, but you know, taking it from the beginning and thinking about the psychological game that Gordon does. When Gordon first came out, I don't know if people realize he was playing Brazilian funk music as he was walking out. And when he was halfway through the ramp, he gave a big smile. He waved his hand as a no, ran back, and then came back with rock and roll music. And I forget what song he was playing, but it was a mental game to Andre. I'm coming out with your music, with what you're supposed to come out with Brazilian funk music. I'm alluding to all the fans here that are cheering for Brazil. They're going to cheer for me eventually. Runs back and then comes back out when his real music starts playing. So again, that's another little thing. I don't know if people really caught on to that, of the psychological game that Gordon plays. But he can back it up. When Mario's also mentioned at the beginning of the match, you see the tension between the both of them. There's a lot of respect, but you see that Gordon is already in Andre's head. Andre, that intensity, I mean, he's built like a tank. He's got like a 32-inch waist with a 48 back. I mean, he really looked like either like a power lifter or a CrossFitter. He did not look like your regular average grappler, which Andre has never had. I mean, he's always been in super good shape. But he came with that trying to head club. And what he really did, he slapped the Jesus out of Gordon. Marius called him in the attention for that. Andres always being very respectful, and he always follows the rules. Yeah. He made the adjustments. And once again, Gordon lured him to the takedown. Andre got overly excited. He saw the opening and instinctively hit a blast single with the head right on Gordon's chest, takes Gordon down very aggressively. And once again, you see Andres' facial expression going, shit, I should have made him pull guard. I should have made him wrestle me. And now it's 0-0, and he's in the bottom, which is known as Gordon's good positioning. Yeah. So it was amazing to see how not even the physical perspective of the game.
He got two people that way. Think about that.
Yes.
He didn't.
Yes.
He's not.
He got Nicky and Andre with the same game. Yes.
He got two people with the same thing. Yeah.
With the same strategy.
And that music may have allowed him to do that. It may have thrown Andre in order to become emotional.
Very possible. Very possible, because you could see it at the beginning of the match. Andre was emotional about it. Gordon is like a cold-blooded killer, and he's just like, I'm here for another day at the office. What's also interesting, once Gordon achieved to get Andres back, he played a very good, smart, strategic game just in case. So in ADCC, when you attain a position, a dominant position, for example, back take, with both hooks in, you are allowed to remove one of the hooks for 3 seconds or more, and then regain that hook, and you rescore points for that position again. Gordon did that and attained, I believe it was 12-0. Just in case, to make sure I'm way up in points. If he escapes my back take, or, he gains a position, whatever the case may be, he's way up on points already. And he could have continued to do that. But at one point, he looked at his corner. John Danaher and Gary Tonin were in the corner, and he kind of gave him a look like, okay, I'm done playing. He pulled Andres' arm down and locked the body lock triangle with the arm inside of the triangle. So now Andre only has one arm to defend that choke. But now he's going to take that away by wrist control, pull the arm down to the belly, and like Marius was saying, he finished the submission with just one arm around the neck.
All right. So do you think that opening slap by Andre, do you think that was just to kind of get even with what took place in the parking garage?
I don't think so. I don't think Andre is a man of faith. I've met him personally several times. He's always been, and even fighting MMA, his MMA days, Andres not that guy.
Okay.
I think his emotions got the best of him. And listen, you are 12,000 people's only focus at that moment. You feel that energy.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mario feels it as the ref, the guy in the center with me, Peter, George, and the other staff. We're at the table as judges, and we feel the difference. We feel the energy. So I'm sure that energy, quote unquote, infected him. And, and that's what made him get a little bit more emotional and just like, I got to go hard versus this guy the whole time. In their mind, it's a possible 40 minutes because it's 20 regulation, 2 overtimes of 10. So I got to go as hard as I can for 20 minutes. So let me go from second one and show him that I'm here. And I think that's what really happened. I don't think it was, let me get even about the face slap thing. Not at all.
So Mario, biggest takeaways from Gordon's run?
I'll say only that, that he haven't submitted everyone. That probably will be the only thing I can think of, that he wasn't able to do what Roger did.
Oh, that right there is our next episode, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, we are going to be discussing the incredible 2005 run of Roger Gracie and compare it to the 2022 run of Gordon Ryan. Ladies and gentlemen, myself, Mike Davis, Miguel Durante, Carlos, Mario, we appreciate you watching. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.